What is going on, guys? So do any of you remember when Emily Linden, the what was she? She's like the chief editor of Teen Vogue magazine? Yeah, Teen Vogue writer. She wrote a tweet and said, here's an unpopular opinion. I'm actually not at all concerned about innocent men losing their jobs over false sexual assault / harassment allegations. So what you're saying is that you're quite prepared to throw men under the bus just because it barely ever happened, so it doesn't matter? Well, I'll tell you some people who would beg to differ with you on that one, Emily Linden. And that's basically all of the men in Wall Street. You know, the rich, successful guys who have got a lot to lose and everything to lose to the women who want to gain it from them. So I've received this particular article, as well as stumbling across it myself, as well as probably having it in the comments of some of my videos. As you guys know, I get thousands of comments a day, so I simply can't keep up. I've got email from Charlie Brown, I got one from Bruce, Kenneth, and Dan. Thank you to all you four guys for sharing this with me. But this is some real shit here. Wall Street rule for the Me Too era: avoid women at all costs. Now this is from Bloomberg.com, a fairly well-respected financial publication. So you know shit got real when it's on here. No more dinners with female colleagues. Don't sit next to them on flights. Book hotel rooms on different floors. Avoid one-on-one meetings. In fact, as a wealth advisor put it, just hiring a woman these days is an unknown risk, quote unquote. What if she took something he said the wrong way? What if she took something he said the wrong way? That's a great question. Across Wall Street, men are adopting controversial strategies because these men are strategists. That's how they've made so much money. They develop strategies, right? They develop strategies to build their wealth. They develop strategies to build their business. So these men are adopting what this publication calls controversial strategies for the Me Too era, and in the process making life even harder for women. Yeah, because it wasn't hard for guys to begin with, was it? Call it the Pence effect after US Vice President Mike Pence, who has said he avoids dining alone with any woman other than his wife. In finance, the overarching impact can be, in essence, you knew it was coming, gender segregation. Interviews with more than 30 senior executives suggest many are spooked by Me Too and struggling to cope. It's creating a sense of walking on eggshells, said David Barnson, a former managing director at Morgan Stanley, who's now an independent advisor overseeing more than $1.5 billion in investments. You better believe he's not going to lose any of that for his clients because of some little hussy who wants an easy cash payday. This is hardly a single industry phenomenon, as men across the country check their behavior at work to protect themselves in the face of what they consider unreasonable political correctness, or to simply do the right thing. The upshot is forceful on Wall Street, where women are scarce in the upper ranks. The industry has also nurtured for a long time a culture that keeps harassment complaints out of the courts and public eye, and has so far avoided a mega scandal like the one that has engulfed Harvey Weinstein. Real loss. Now more than a year into the Me Too movement, with its devastating revelations of harassment and abuse in Hollywood. There's nothing fucking devastating about it except for the guys who got outed as something they weren't. I mean, the casting couch has been going on for how long? It's still going on, even with Weinstein being outed. Like, women are still fucking their way into acting positions. It's just how it is. So you do need audio and video recording devices with you at all times. I agree with you. Thank you so much for that advice, Smith Raymond. Appreciate you. In case you guys wonder why I get close to the screen to read comments sometimes, it's because I've got all my text set to really, really small so I can get more on the screen, but sometimes it's a bit tough to read while I'm doing live streams. Here we go. More than a year into the hashtag MeToo movement with its devastating revelations of harassment and abuse in Hollywood, Silicon Valley and beyond, Wall Street risks becoming more of a boys' club rather than less of one. Until, of course, the government tries to legislate to have all these females in there because vagina. Women are grasping for ideas on how to deal with it because it is affecting our careers, said Karen Elinsky, president of the Financial Women's Association. Not just the Financial Association, the Financial Women's Association, because you can't have an association without there being one just for women. Even though there aren't any men's associations, you've got to have them just for women. And a senior vice president at Wells Fargo and Co. It's a real loss, she says. There's a danger too for companies that fail to squash the isolating backlash and don't take steps to have top managers be open about the issue and make it safe for everyone to discuss it, said Stephen Zweig, an employment attorney with Fort Harrison. If men avoid working or traveling with women alone or stop mentoring women for fear of being accused of sexual harassment, he said, those men are going to back out of a sexual harassment complaint and right into a sex discrimination complaint. Right? So you can't win either way. You're backed into a corner with these femtards. And, you know, speaking of stopping mentoring women, have you guys heard of Mentor Her? It was a hashtag started by a feminist who was like, oh, men have stopped mentoring women in the workplace. Yeah, that's because everything we fucking do get misconstrued as sexual harassment or we want to have sex with you. Not everyone wants to fuck you, even though you're a complete narcissist and you think that everything is about you. Channeling Pence. While the new personal codes for dealing with hashtag #MeToo have only just begun to ripple, the shift is already palpable. According to the people interviewed, who declined to be named for obvious reasons, because they would just get attacked by feminists. They work for hedge funds, law firms, banks, private equity firms, and investment management firms. For obvious reasons, few will talk openly about the issue. Privately, though, many of the men interviewed acknowledge they're channeling Pence, saying how uneasy they are about being alone with female colleagues, particularly youthful or unattractive ones, fearful of the rumor mill or of, as one put it, the potential liability. It's exactly right, the potential liability, because there is potential always lurking and looming behind any interaction with a woman in the workplace. And that's the problem. That is the fundamental flaw with hashtag #MeToo. Right? It has turned so many women into victims. Between that and the feminist indoctrination, it's out of control. A manager in infrastructure investing said he won't meet with female employees in rooms without windows anymore. He also keeps his distance in elevators. A late 40-something-year-old man in private equity said he has a new rule established on the advice of his wife, an attorney. No business dinner with a woman 35 or younger. So only business dinners with post-wall women. Because that way it's plausible deniability, because people will be like, oh, well, why would he fuck her? She's old and ugly. And I'm not saying there aren't some pretty women over 35, but that will be the thought train, right? Whereas, if you're having dinner with a much younger, much more attractive woman, right? Someone under 35 who's youthful and good looking, there's plausible, people go, well, yeah, I don't know, like, she's a pretty attractive woman and he went to dinner with her, and why would you do that unless there was something going on? Do you know what I mean? So there's that kind of that pretense there that alludes to the woman being believed, even if there's no truth to it, right? And that's the risk that exists in these situations, because you've got to think about people's personal motivations for doing things, right? And the framework that gets set up when you're in a situation. Let's continue. The changes can be subtle but insidious, with a woman, say, excluded from casual after-work drinks, leaving male colleagues to bond, or having what should be a private meeting with a boss with the door left wide open. You brought it upon yourself, ladies. Brought it upon yourself. Not that hard. On Wall Street, as elsewhere, reactions to hashtag #MeToo can smack of paranoia. Hey, ain't nothing paranoid about protecting yourself. Can smack of paranoia, particularly given the industry's history of protecting its biggest revenue generators. That's what businesses do. They protect their biggest revenue generators, because without big revenue generators, the business isn't profitable. It's just basic fucking economics, which you would all know if you hadn't done arts degrees instead of a fucking useful degree, women. Okay? So, I'm just saying. And I know this, look, I know some fantastic accountants who are women. I know some women and they're great with money, right? And those people are obviously smart enough to know that this is what's going to happen, right? But if you go into a gender studies degree, if you go into a, what is it? It's not psychology. Oh, philosophy. Go and do a fucking philosophy degree. Oh, let's philosophize about feminism and about the patriarchy. Go fuck yourselves, dumbasses. Here we go. Some men have voiced concerns to me that a false accusation is what they fear, understandably so, said Zweig the lawyer. These men fear for what they cannot control. That's true, because there's certain things that you can control, but there's a lot of things that you can't. And that is what men are cautious of. That's what's cautious of, right? There are as many or more men who are responding in quite different ways. One, an investment advisor who manages about 100 employees, said he briefly reconsidered having one-on-one meetings with junior women. He thought about leaving his office door open or inviting a third person into the room. Finally, he landed on the solution. Just try not to be an arsehole. Hope that works out for you, but it probably won't if you get someone who wants to fuck you over. Because feelings. That's pretty much the bottom line, said Ron Biscardi, Chief Executive Officer of Context Capital Partners, for now, until he gets an allegation because he was being too nice. It's really not that hard, he said. In January, as hashtag #MeToo was gathering momentum, Biscardi did away with the late night open bar gathering he'd hosted for years in his penthouse suite during Context Capital's annual conference at the Fontainebleau, Miami Beach. Given the fact that women are in the minority at our events, we want to make sure that the environment is always welcoming and comfortable. We felt that eliminating the after party was necessary to remain consistent with that goal. Well, that's a very good way of saying, I don't want any Me Too allegations, so I'm just going to create a situation where they can't exist. In this charged environment, the question is actually how the response to hashtag Me Too might end up hurting women's progress. There it is. Given the male dominance in Wall Street's top jobs, one of the most pressing consequences for women is the loss of male mentors who can help them climb the ladder. Get that? They need men to help them climb the ladder. They can't do it themselves. Even though men can do it themselves, but the women can't do it themselves, apparently, without men's help. So men, you need to help women, and if you don't, I'm going to make a false allegation against you. So fuck you either way. It's basically where we're at right now. Yeah. Given the male dominance in Wall Street's top jobs, one of the most pressing consequences for women is the loss of male mentors who can help them climb the ladder. Hashtag mentor her. There aren't enough women in senior positions to bring along the next generation all by themselves, said Lisa Kaufman, Chief Executive Officer of LaSalle Securities. Well, you're a Chief Executive Officer, Lisa Kaufman. How about you do it yourself? Or is that just too much work for you? Would you rather go home at 5:30 and fuck around with the kiddies instead of actually doing something about it? I know the answer to that, so you just don't need to answer, because you're probably not going to, because it's going to make you look like an idiot. Advancement typically requires that someone at a senior level knows your work, gives you opportunities, and is willing to champion you within the firm. It's hard for a relationship like that to develop if the senior person is unwilling to spend one-on-one time with a more junior person. Well, if the women trying to climb the corporate ladder were just not feminists who can't understand normal thinking, there wouldn't be so much of an issue now, would there? So let's just go straight to the government and get the government to regulate women employees. Get the government to regulate women as CEOs of companies they don't fucking own. Let's just do that, because that just seems to work so well for women in other areas. Idiots. Oh, you guys are gonna love the punchline on this one. This is insane. By the way, the West Winger says you're my favorite MGTOW channel. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for that. Here we go. It's hard for a relationship like that to develop if the senior person is unwilling to spend one-on-one time with a more junior person. Punchline. Men have to step up, she said, and not let fear be a barrier. Well, let me tell you something that I'm not going to let be a barrier. I'm not going to let women who might accuse me of shit that I haven't done be a barrier. That's what I'm not going to do. So take that as you will. But ladies, you fucked up. You cock-blocked yourself from Wall Street. One of the biggest opportunities in the world. And thank you so much to Oscuridad del Norte from South Korea. I appreciate you, brother. Do a bit of philosophizing myself, just without the feminist indoctrination. I'm really liking where this is going. I'm really liking where this whole Me Too shit's going. Because you know where it's going? That's what's happening right now. You done fucked up, ladies! And to those ladies of you who watch my channel, who work hard, right? Who earn their place in the world on merit, I respect all of you. And I respect all of you guys as well that do exactly the same. So to any ladies or gentlemen watching this right now that live in a place of victimhood, drop the victimhood. Just go. Drop it. And just own your shit, guys. And do what you gotta do to make things work. And people will respect you and stand up and take notice. Alright guys, I'm out of here for now. I'm going to go do another Patreon video. If you guys do want to get in on the raw and uncut action over at Patreon, head on over to patreon.com/SydneyMGTOW and pledge $1 or more a month and you'll get the whole back catalogue of what I've been doing recently. If you want to donate as a once-off, paypal.me/SydneyMGTOW. And if you want to follow me on my other platforms, go and check out the links below. And I will see you very soon, guys. Appreciate you all. Peace.